You know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when you're reaching into the past to find excitement and mental stimulation that can reconnect you to your own reality. Have you ever been a recluse on the verge? It's like when you stay inside too long and you think you're about to transform into a gremlin. The very conceptual idea of entering the rays that embrace from the surface of the fireball that's in the sky. You think to yourself that if you keep your eyes open long enough, your very essence might fuse to the sun. All that to say, I went to the post office. A system I had thought had been lost to the evolution of technology turns out still kicking and offering stamps as a valid method of delivery. I've never quite figured out the quantity of stamps needed for your parcel to gain entry into the void. Right? Because something you could probably figure out if I just only paid attention. But they don't even let you know. You try and ask, and they only say that you need more or less, as if that was some sort of indication of numerical value, and not some sort of vague representation of the nothingness. I mean, you really start to boil it down that you could have sent whatever this was via fax. You see what I'm saying? By all counts, at that rate, just hand whatever I had to a horse. Remember a time when you needed to send your message via saddleback? Imagine how valuable that information needed to be pertaining to what would now be considered an eon's worth of time it would need to deliver said message. I mean, imagine you're updating everybody that your pet had churned butter. I'm telling you right now, if the method of delivery found out the relevance of the message that you had intended for the sender, it would for sure take the invaluable time needed to return to sender. Now, of course, there are other methods. You could send like a falcon, which would be nice if you also had like some sort of Fabergé egg. Now, I'm pretty fancy to the fox idea, but I kind of feel like doing it that way would also be like putting a message in a bottle. Which, when you're throwing that into the vastness of the ocean, who is your intended recipient? Land? In today's world, though, the level of convenience we have, I mean, you could formulate that message into so many different variations and send it via so many spans of communications that it would almost feel like an harassment via the quantity and sheer volume of nothingness that the message had to entail. But convenience sometimes can be warped to just an upscale or an up price of goods and services. You ever been to a convenience store? Look, some of that food in there has seen just space in and of itself fold and represent a biological representation of what was. I mean, some of that food with one bite turns into a microscopic dust that doesn't even remotely resemble a mass that constricted of some sort of sustenance. Things that were once chewy now have the consistency of wet cement. I mean, the taste might be there, but at what cost? And don't even get me started on whatever mystery meat is rotating on that, what looks like a hot metal car vent, where the heat source is coming from is from some undefinable location, probably from some sort of, beaker with vials and substances and chemicals. It's a real science project going on. Now, look, I say that saying that I'm no cook. I ruined pasta the other day. I put an adjective of an ingredient called wood-fired into it, which turned it into the consistency of sour mud. I mean, really, I don't even know what kind of substance formulated within what I thought was, noodles and sauce. I could tell that I made a mistake when the other person ate it, and the look of just pure confusion, disgust, and trying to relate their own biochemistry to some sort of alternate reality where they didn't have to consume this. They try to be as polite as possible. They're like, hey, you tried something new, which almost always means don't. Don't do that. Look, growing up, carnivorous substances, I was described to have two levels of flavor, or two different flavors. The first being meat has an actual regiment of, a palate that you would consider taste. Really, there's just a specific color profile that really is representation of meat. Everything else, all other categories, chicken. I'm telling you right now, like chicken, of course, no one's gonna say chicken tastes like chicken. The thought of eating fish when I was young, I would have rather have tasted whatever was in space, which to my knowledge is just a vacuum of infinity. I would have taken that chance over whatever scaly organism that protruded some sort of vile, intricate smell that both confused and enlightened whatever was happening in front of you. So, and then you got to exotic meats, which I've always been interpreted as anything that could eat you. Right? Like people talk about gator, which is just like petrified leather. You guessed it, chicken. Or I've heard bear described as processed chicken that has the potential, if not heated to the correct temperature of burnt beyond recognition, could potentially destroy your very biome. So, you really got to be careful. Vegetables, I saw vegetables as a garnish, which I had learned was just a fancy word for aesthetically pleasing on the plate. Turns out vegetables, they're not so pleasing, and you got to eat them. Here's how I from my ear canal, from some sort of different moment in space at the dining room table, I heard, what is this green thing? If somebody describes something to you with some sort of vague description, you can't really quantify to your conclusory process that it's going to be a delectable, digestive experience. But don't judge a book by its cover, because you never know. I was saved by a smart car. And the only thing I knew about a smart car was the only car that when it was introduced, there was a bigger talk around the water cooler about how far you could move the thing with your own physical strength. In my own stature, I was more relying on physics, because any amount of force I applied to that thing physically would have just implemented back and folded in on myself. So, but when I first met my girlfriend and we went on a first date, she arrived on time. As I've been told, is something that creates good qualities and a foundation for a strong relationship. What she saw was something that resembled me inside what looked like a blinged out yellow smart car. The package that was being shown to her was not something she was ready to further go down that rabbit hole with. She almost left. It wasn't until she had noticed that I had not arrived on the scene yet to really verify the validity of her next course of action, which should have been to run, because I showed up in the coolest whip that there was, a minivan. Now look, I had recently totaled my first car, which, by the way, not like before the rendezvous, because that would have shown not only dedication, but also a red flag, right? Like, hey, I'm here, but I totaled a car to get here, which doesn't really give me good standing to further this meeting of coalition. To spice things up and to really add some class and a certain je ne sais quoi, my father had implemented what he had described to be, he figured, look, nothing you do is going to help you. But also, nothing you do is going to hurt you. So let this be a shot in the dark to fulfill your inner confidence. He bought me fuzzy dice, which I didn't even understand was conceptually an idea that still existed. I mean, where did he get them? On a street corner in the 1800s? I mean, the audacity of this being like, hey, look, this will add enough to not enough to make it okay. I really understood the value of just having a piece of machinery get you from point A to point B. You realize blings, gadgets, and gizmos, they're nice, but they're not practical when your end result is just getting to another destination. And people really push it because you really find out all you need is a couple wheels and an engine, right? And structurally, you can get somewhere. Have you ever seen, the people that or the cars that have a missing door and they've replaced it with a bag? Even if it's a name brand bag, how much structural integrity is it really reinforcing the car? And as you're driving, you're mainly just going to hear what might resemble as a flock of seagulls following you. The other day I saw a car that had been pringled, and not in a good way. I mean, the front end was just an accordion of what was. I mean, the hood was just kind of flapping in the wind. The guy had taken one of those like workout rubber bands and stretched it over the steering wheel to gain some sort of equilibrium balance to save and keep the car going in one direction. I mean, he literally was holding on to the very structure and the atoms of this car. And now look, my first car was held together by gum and the spirit of youth. Okay, so I'm not selling, anything. You really try and hold on tight and just make sure, hey, 1 foot on the pedal and put it for D for go. And with that, I gotta get out of here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.